Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boy, does it smell good.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
That's good.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We are working towards the weekend and getting close to it. I want to remind you about our Football Friday coverage here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Starts tomorrow the normal time, 7 o'clock off the bench, 7 to 10, Jake and T-Bob. An hour early for live at lunch, 10 to 1 over the, 10 to 1? Is that right? That's 10 to 1. That's 3 hours. Math just not the strong suit. But 10 to 1, Rafino's will be live at lunch. Charlie and Jimmy will get you going for the weekend. I'm here from 1 to 3, and Matt will drive you home on Friday from 3 to 6. When Matt's done at 6 o'clock, you got Cade Wasse and his cast of thousands for Louisiana Prep Preview leading you up to Catholic High football. And they're with you at 10 o'clock for Louisiana Prep Scoreboard, getting you caught up on all the prep scores from around Louisiana. So from, 7 a.m. to midnight on Fridays, we are live and local all day long. So check us out starting tomorrow at 7 o'clock. I wanted to talk Broncos here. I decided not to because we'll talk about Broncos Saints after we talk to Chris Blair at 2:30. I want to talk about Taylen Green because I do think this is an interesting storyline and an interesting aspect to this game. You probably know who Taylen Green is. He's the quarterback for Arkansas. He's 6'6", 230 pounds. He's a great athlete. He's from Louisville, Texas, went up to Boise State, and he was a starting quarterback there for 2 seasons, his redshirt freshman season of 2022 and then his redshirt sophomore season of 2023. That first year as a redshirt freshman, he kind of did what you would imagine a 6'6", great high school athlete Boise State quarterback would do. He ran a lot, he was super productive, and he wasn't extremely efficient through the air. That sounds like what a redshirt freshman quarterback who's a really good athlete would be. That year, in 10 starts, he completed 61% of his throws, about 200 yards per game. He ran for over 100 yards 3 different times in games. He had 24 total touchdowns and 6 interceptions. He was named the Mountain West Freshman of the Year for those contributions as a redshirt freshman at Boise. His next year, he didn't really take a step forward. He completed worse, 57% of his throws. He threw for 146 yards per game. He threw for 11 touchdowns and threw 9 interceptions. And then he ran for 436 yards on 6 yards per carry, and he added 9 rushing touchdowns. But he did not progress as a passer. Well, Bobby Petrino gets the offensive coordinator job at Arkansas, and they got to go get a quarterback because KJ Jefferson's leaving. And he identifies Taylen Green, and they bring him in. And keep in mind, and I don't want to make the obvious comparison here because he coached him in college, but Bobby Petrino took Lamar Jackson when nobody really wanted Lamar Jackson to play quarterback, and look what the result was of that. He's not afraid to take a really good athlete and try to make them into a more productive passer. And while the numbers aren't markedly better this year, I would argue the performance has been better because he's doing it against better competition. Through his first 6 games this year, Taylen Green is completing 57% of his throws for 251 yards per game, 5 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. He's run the ball 81 times, so he's running it double-digit times most weeks for 326 yards and 4 touchdowns. What I'm doing for the purposes of Taylen Green's statistics is I'm going to throw out Arkansas Pine Bluff, who Andrew Hutchinson just told us 20 minutes ago is one of the worst college football teams he's ever seen. And apologies to Coach Dilfer. I'm going to toss UAB out the window too because they're also atrocious. I just want to look at Oklahoma State, Auburn, Texas A&M, and Tennessee. And when I look at those statistics and I watch the highlights of those games, I think he played well in 3 of the games. Against Oklahoma State, inarguably, Taylen Green played a great football game. He threw for 416 yards and a touchdown. He ran for 61 more on 18 carries. They put up a ton of yards and a ton of points. Now, Oklahoma State's not great, but when you throw for 416 yards and you run for 61 more, that's a great day at the office. Taylen Green was great in that game. They played Auburn on the road, and I would suggest this was a bad game from Taylen Green. Now, there's a caveat to that. He completed only 12 of 27 throws. It's not like Auburn has got Darrelle Revis and Deion Sanders running down back there. Okay, Auburn doesn't beat anybody. So 12 of 27 is not good. 151 yards. He turned it over twice with 2 interceptions. He did run it 18 times for 80 yards, which is very productive. But I don't think he was very good against Auburn. I thought he was good against A&M and good against Tennessee, and those are 2 good defenses. Against A&M, he threw for 279 and a touchdown, did throw a pick. He was 23 of 41, which is just a tick over 50%. That's not that great, but he just doesn't complete a lot of percentage of his throws. He just doesn't. It's never been his MO. He's been a starting quarterback for 2.5 years. He's a 60% completion kind of guy. And then against Tennessee last week, 19 of 27 is pretty good. 266 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He also didn't get the running game going in that one either before he got hurt and left the game. But in those games, he's completing 57% of his throws. He's throwing for 278 a game. 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, not great, but he has run for 99 yards, including 80 in the Auburn game. Here's the thing that very much stands out about Taylen Green when you watch him on the highlight reel and they play. Bobby Petrino is doing a very, very good job of making things a little easier for Taylen Green. Green spends a ton of time in bootlegs and half rolls. Why? Well, it's pretty easy. Because that cuts the field in half, makes your read easier. And if you don't like what you see and you're already rolling out, just run. And he does. And he runs it a lot. 18 times against Oklahoma State, 18 times against Auburn, 13 times against A&M. Like, he's going to run a lot. And he's not going to complete a huge percentage of his throws. But you have to deal with his athleticism. We can't know today, sitting here on Thursday, what Taylen Green's health status is going to be. Andrew Hutchinson said he's going to play. Based on the fact that he wasn't on the injury report yesterday, he's going to play. Sam Pittman said yesterday on the teleconference that he's not to full speed yet. We hope he will be. My guess is when he wakes up on Saturday and he gets on the bus to go to the stadium on Saturday, he'll have a little discomfort in his knee. He'll feel it, but he'll be able to go on adrenaline and play a little bit. Now, when you take that first shot, who knows? All bets are off for anybody at that point. But I think he's able to play, and I don't think he's going to be massively compromised. This isn't going to look like Mahomes running around on one leg in that playoff run. Green will be okay after a week off with a bone bruise on his knee. But LSU is going to have to do a really good job, especially on the edges. Braden Swinson, Savion Jones, Deshaun Woback, Major Burns, all these guys that are on the edges for LSU have to realize you're going to see a lot of boots. And if you rush too far up the field and get beyond the quarterback, he'll just take off. That doesn't do you any good. Trying to fly off the edge and get back there and create a huge sack like you would against Jackson Dart or Miller Moss doesn't do you as much good against Taylen Green. Jackson Dart and Miller Moss will kill you from the pocket if given the chance. They're veteran. They're accurate. They complete a high percentage of throws. They throw for 3,500, 4,000 yards. That's who they are. Taylen Green's not going to kill you standing in the pocket. He's not. He might complete some passes, and Armstrong's been good for him, and Satania's a good athlete, and he might complete some. He's not inept back there, but he's not going to dissect you. He will if you fly at the field too fast and let him just start running. And Braden Swinson met with the media on Tuesday, and he talked about, one of the things Coach Peoples has told us a lot in pass rush is don't rush past the quarterback. You rush from underneath the quarterback, and that is something you can do. Arkansas does allow some pressures and some sacks. Taylen Green will hold on to the ball a little bit. If you look at sacks allowed, they're 11th in the SEC, meaning only 5 teams are worse. They allow 2.3 a game. Tennessee and actually not Tennessee. It was Auburn and Oklahoma State and A&M all got back there 3 times and sacked Taylen Green. And I think LSU will be able to get back there and make some plays if he holds on to the ball because he doesn't like the picture he sees. But you can't just let him off the hook by running. That's too easy for him. Make him beat you throwing it. That means lane integrity, controlled pass rushes, staying underneath the quarterback, keeping him in front of you, and then finishing when you have an opportunity. It's not like Arkansas's offensive line is dynamite. It's fine. But that's what you got to do. Because if you start getting up the field too quick, They'll draw you to death. They'll quarterback draw you to death, and he'll just break contain. Can't let him do that. Way, way too easy. So, Taylen Green, not the abject disaster we were forecasting back in August. Also not going to kill you. I think it's a different game plan for LSU this week than it has been the last few. Maybe going back to Lenora Sellers, and you let Sellers get going a little bit running the ball. So it's going to be a fascinating matchup. I think he's going to be healthy, and I think it changes the way that LSU has to play it, but we'll see. Chris Blair is the voice of the Tigers. He's going to join us. Coming up next, talk about that big win over Ole Miss and what he expects to see on Saturday night.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been running Boudreaux's for 40 years down there in the 985. They're a certified Generac dealer. They're a premier Generac generator dealer. That means they're in the top 3% nationwide in Generac generator sales. Why choose Boudreaux's Electrical? Well, for a couple reasons. One, every generator comes with a 7 to 10 year warranty based on the kind of generator that you buy. That's one reason. Two, they're going to monitor your generator remotely to make sure that it's always ready to roll. So you don't need to find out your generator is not functioning properly when it's time for the generator to come on. That doesn't do you a lot of good. But when Boudreaux's Electrical can monitor it remotely, they can determine when there's an issue, whether it's mechanical or something's happened and there's been some kind of accident. Then they can come out and fix it so that when that storm blows through, when that person runs into the power line down the street, when that ice storm happens, you're ready to go, and that Boudreaux's Electrical generator is ready to fire up. You work from home, don't take the chance that you can't be productive because the power went out at noon on a Tuesday. Get that Generac generator installed today from my friends at Boudreaux's Electrical Services. You can call them at 985-397-1562, 985-397-1562, or 225-300-9389 in Gonzales, 225-300-9389, or the easy way out, I'll tell you every single day, BoudreauxElectrical.com, BoudreauxElectrical.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Talk a little bit about the Saints and Broncos coming up in 15 minutes. Thursday night football from the Dome coming up this evening. Tigers headed to Fayetteville to take on the Razorbacks. 6 o'clock kickoff. Chris Blair will be on the call, as well as the Brian Kelly Show this evening from TJ Ribs. He joins us every Thursday on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chris, how are you?
I'm good. You made your pick yet?
Have not.
Oh, okay.
More of a Friday type thing.
Okay, I'll tune in tomorrow, see what you got.
Yeah, lock it in. I don't know what it's going to be, candidly. It's usually more of like a 12:20 on Friday decision before a 1 o'clock show. So we'll see what the next 22 hours or so bring. But I had a pick on last Friday for LSU Ole Miss. I picked Ole Miss to win. That did not happen. Did you enjoy your Saturday night?
I did, but when you made that pick, it reverberated from your studios and all across Baton Rouge, all the way to campus here. It was amazing.
Look, I was on the set for the pregame show, and I had multiple people come over and tell me that I was an idiot for picking that on Friday. People do not like when I don't pick LSU.
No, I had a blast last Saturday night. I had a blast all Saturday. It was just a great day. I had a sense. I got here pretty early, which I told you last week. I mean, I got here because I wanted to make sure I could get inside, the campus proper before, it locked down. And, I mean, my parking lot was full at 10:30. And so I had a sense then, wow, this thing is really going to be a powder keg. And, it lived up to it. Tiger Stadium was legendary. Tiger Stadium. The fans, made it. I mean, when I think of a home field advantage hunt, and you hear coaches say it all the time that, I don't know how much that affects the visiting team as much as it lifts the home team, but I think it affected Ole Miss. I mean, I think that was clear that the fans did their job, and the Tigers eventually did theirs in overtime, and it was just a great night.
After a year and a half of kind of seeing the offense have to carry the load, it was kind of nice to see the defense show up early when the offense was sputtering. What did you see from the Tigers?
Yeah, that's what we kind of kept saying on the radio was like, once we got to the late in the third quarter and into the fourth quarter, it was like, this is so exciting to watch this defense fly to the football and really create havoc and make things difficult for Jackson Dart, who's an excellent player, and just make things difficult for Ole Miss overall. And it was like, it's just too bad. We're, with the offense, if we could just get them on track, this defense, looked even better than I thought against South Alabama. And, I've been saying for, 2 weeks that, yeah, it was South Alabama. But to me, watching them defensively, it looked like a defense. Like, forget who they were playing. They were in position, and they made the tackle when they were in that position. And I thought if you could translate that over and then just supersede, the energy that your opponent in Ole Miss would have, that this defense would look pretty good. And frankly, it did. So it was, I'm glad the offense eventually, answered the call, and what a call they did. I mean, when things weren't going right, I just, I've got a lot more respect now. And I had a ton, let me be frank, I had a ton in Garrett Nussmeier. And I've got even more now because his ability to just put all that bad stuff behind him and say, look, my guys need me, the offense needs me, these fans need me, this team needs me, and to go out there and do it the way he did, I mean, kudos to him.
How many times did you say Whit Weeks' name on Saturday?
A bunch. I mean, I was telling somebody earlier today, he reminds me a little bit of like, Bevins last year. It's like he's either making the tackle or he's in on the tackle. And even if he doesn't get credit for, an assist, he's where the football is. I mean, it's just amazing to watch him run. And I've said it to you many times. He is so much fun to see him have success and to know him away from the field. I mean, a guy who would literally play, I think, 3 games a week if he would let him. I mean, that's how much he loves football. And to watch him out there and having the success now is just fantastic. And I think he's, I don't know what he's like. I don't know if he's in your face kind of guy off the, with his teammates, but leading by example and showing what it's like to enjoy playing the sport is got to be contagious in that defensive locker room.
Major Burns has made the move to star full-time, and now Zy Alexander has returned to outside corner and Sage Ryan dipped back to safety. Do you think those guys look more comfortable on Saturday?
I really do. I mean, I think it was Major Burns, certainly his best performance of the season. I think it's one of his better games, period. And, Coach Kelly was the first to point that out on Monday, but kudos to Major Burns. But I kind of like that setup and those guys in those positions. Again, they were flying to the football, they were tackling, and they were just in position. And, I think the emergence hunt of this front seven, which I can't say enough about Kevin Peoples and Blake Baker. I just think last year, you looked at a second that was constantly having to be on an island for 7 or 8 seconds, in a play. That's hard to do against really good receivers. And the fact that LSU is being able to get pressure, I mean, they get the sacks, but even when they don't get the sacks, they get some hurries, they get some bad throws, some bad footwork from their quarterback. And that, I think, helps the back end. And that's what Coach Kelly said all last year. He goes, look, we can hang this on the secondary. And certainly, truth be told, there have been mistakes made, blown coverages, people out of position, all of that. But there also is something to be said for complementary football with your front seven creating some pressure on the offense so that they don't get clean pockets and they don't get tons of time to go through their progressions. And that, that limits that time for the secondary to maybe 3, 4, 5 seconds in a given snap. And I think all of that's working together now in concert. And that's why I'm excited about what the defense can do for the rest of the season.
I think you've been around long enough now to kind of speak in some sample size terms. I mean, what do you make of this LSU and Arkansas rivalry, and that Arkansas has played LSU so closely over the years where they've really struggled to compete with A&M and even Alabama?
Well, I think I upset some of the Arkansas folks earlier this week, and I certainly didn't mean to. They asked me, do I think the rivalry in this matchup means more to Arkansas than LSU? And I said, yeah. I said, now, when the boot, that 200-pound monstrosity, is not in Baton Rouge, I think it bothers LSU that it should be in Baton Rouge. But, I think Arkansas, it's a much bigger game, and it has been for a long time, certainly since they joined the SEC. So, I mean, they get up for it. I mean, this is their biggest game, and they're going to try to play it down. They took on Tennessee, and that was a big game, and they've always got to match up with this team or that team. But this is the game. I mean, I've seen it. I've been around it. I've run into enough Arkansas fans during basketball and baseball season for them to tell me that that's the one they circled. So I think that's what happens. I mean, we've seen a ton of teams that on paper for LSU, talent for talent, should go up there and win by 10, 14 points, and yet they don't. They have trouble scoring. They got to win by 3. I mean, that's amazing that since the 2019 team where they, shellacked the Razorbacks around, since then it's been 3-point games, 3 wins for LSU and 1 win for Arkansas. So I don't know. I just know that when I look at Arkansas, again, they played a great game against Tennessee. I think they got after Nico early, kind of got him out of rhythm. They tackled extremely well. And then Coach Petrino used his big running backs, both, I believe, Jenkins and Russell. Those 2 guys are a load. And, they threw the ball over the middle of the field and got some, decent passing game going. But they're going to be up for this game. And if LSU goes up there and does what LSU can do, I'm sorry. I just think they're a better team. They should win this game. But that's been said many times before, and it just hasn't always worked out that way.
My contention is LSU needs to run the ball a little better this week, and we just had Andrew Hutchison of Best of Arkansas Sports on in the last hour, and he said one of the things that Arkansas did against Tennessee was they kind of went to a dime, put 3 linemen down, and put a bunch of DBs out there, and I think they kind of might do that again against LSU, see if Garrett will throw it in some tight windows against zone coverage, but that would open up the run game against a lighter box that Brian Kelly said we're not seeing a lot. So do you think LSU is going to lean on the running game a little bit more than they have this weekend?
Well, I think so, but I was a little surprised this past Saturday because if you remember when we talked last week, I said to me I was interested to see if Coach Golding and Coach Kiffin would pretty much rely on the 4-man rush most of the game and try to set everybody back in coverage. And for most of the night, they did. They rushed 5. Occasionally, they would throw an all-out blitz, maybe with 6 guys coming after Garrett. But, again, we weren't really able to successfully run the football. And, again, I think you're going to see a defense much like what you just said. That is going to try to certainly not let anything get beyond them or behind them. And they understand that LSU's most effective running game has really been the passing game, the short intermediate passes. So if, again, you don't have, that type of numbers, I think you should be able to run a little bit. But, Coach Kelly said it's not just the running backs. It's not just the offensive line, although they can improve as well. It's also perimeter blocking by the tight ends and receivers. And I even heard, Josh Williams this week during the media session. I mean, he repeated that almost verbatim. He said, look, it's 11 guys, and all 11 have to execute their job for us to be able to successfully run the football. So I know they're working on it, and it'd be great to be able to do so. And I think you can run against Arkansas, but we'll see.
We certainly will. How do you feel like the guys are going to respond to a huge win and going on the road to face a team that doesn't have the the glitz and glamour of a top 5 team attached to their name?
Well, I mean, I think they turn the page pretty quickly, and I think it's because they know this is a big game. But it's easy. But I think the way the schedule lines up, honey, it's easy to keep the attention of this team. I mean, you take on the Ole Miss top 10 matchup, but when you look at it, it's midway through the season, and there's a lot of big games remaining. So I think that whether or not you think Arkansas is as good as Ole Miss, or whether you think Arkansas is as good as Alabama or Vandy, the truth is it's a huge game because everything is still on the line, everything is still in front of you, and there's no reason in the world that you shouldn't be able to get up and say, let's go on the road, because I think with Arkansas's record, with Arkansas's resume of defeating number 4 Tennessee, you go up to Fayetteville at night and you beat them, I think that does nothing but move LSU up. And frankly, Arkansas's got all the motivation in the world. Forget the boot. Forget, LSU living in their head rent-free year-round. The fact that they defeated Tennessee, and I get the sense they felt like they didn't get enough respect for that. I know that they're talking this week about, all right, guys, we beat Tennessee. We didn't get any respect. We got the bye week, and according to their availability report, they got real healthy.
Yeah.
Now we got another top 10 team coming in, and we can make our season, and we can get that respect if we defeat LSU at home, in back-to-back top 10 wins. So there's plenty for both of these teams beyond the boot and beyond the border and all that other stuff. The season, everything in front of this team for LSU is still there. That's why I think they've been very locked in this week. I'll be interested to hear what Coach Kelly says tonight about, how quickly they were able to put it past them. And he's pretty honest about how they do, during the week, how much work and how much, they were locked in. So be interested to hear his thoughts.
You can hear him tonight, 7 o'clock, Brian Kelly Show from TJ Ribs on Acadian Thruway. Chris Blair will be there. You can also catch it on the LSU Sports Radio Network. Tigers and Hogs, 6 o'clock. That means we start up at 4 o'clock on the network. Chris, thanks so much. Safe travels up to Northwest Arkansas.
We'll do it. Talk to you Saturday.
He is Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers on the LSU Sports Radio Network. As I mentioned, 4 o'clock pregame on the network, 1 o'clock pregame here on Eagle 98.1 for LSU and Arkansas. Be Saints and Broncos tonight. I'll give you my thoughts and my pick on Saints and Broncos coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group. Jonathan Carbo and his team right here inside Baton Rouge. But that doesn't mean you got to be in Baton Rouge to use their services. They can handle you anywhere you are, statewide, and even beyond. Give them a call. The Highland Insurance Group. They're online at highlandig.com. If you're a business owner and I say EPL insurance, do you know what I mean? If I say cyber insurance, do you really have a handle on what that covers? Do you know what your umbrella limit should be? You might, and that's great if you do. If you're a business owner and you have no idea what I'm talking about, you're just kind of worried on running your business and you know that your insurance guy will get those documents to you when renewal time comes up, just take a second and call the Highland Insurance Group. Visit them online at highlandig.com. Explore those policies and make sure that you're covered, because the worst time to dive into those policies and try to figure out what they say is after the incident and the potential claim has already happened. At that point, there's nothing anyone can do, and you're at the mercy of basically the attorneys. Go ahead and contact the Highland Insurance Group and protect your business with insurance. It's not fun to talk about. I did it for 7 years. I know. I went into those meetings. I know how they can be. But if you can trust your insurance broker and know that everything is in place when something bad happens, it just gives you a lot of assurances. I've also been in those meetings where a claim is settled and everybody's made good and the business moves on. Those are the success stories. Just doesn't happen when you sign those papers to renew the documents. Call the Highland Insurance Group. Check them out online, highlandig.com. Make sure your insurance broker is a trusted part of your business. If you're looking for employee and group benefits as well, Highland Insurance Group can help you out with all of that. It's Jonathan Carbo and his team at Highland Insurance Group, highlandig.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Saints and Broncos tonight. Going to be just an interesting feeling inside that Superdome on Thursday evening. For those that missed this earlier this week, I was talking about how it's going to be a unique night in Saints history. And unique is an overused word. All the time you hear more unique or kind of unique or sort of unique or the most unique. It's either unique or it's not. And this one is unique. One of a kind. This is the only time Sean Payton will come back for the first time. This is the only time they'll induct Drew Brees into the Saints Hall of Fame. And you add in the fact that the city is a little cranky with the way things are right now. You add in the factor of Dennis Allen's, time potentially coming to an end if things don't turn around. And you take all those ingredients and pour them in, and it's something we've never seen before. And yeah, it just comes down to a 4-quarter football game, and that's really all that matters. But there are so many different factors at play here that I think are going to make it feel really weird in there tonight. I'm curious to see for those that go, and certainly those that cover it, and we'll talk to somebody tomorrow about it. But what the energy is going to feel like for all of that, for Drew Brees, for Sean Payton, for Dennis Allen, for the Saints team, for this defense, for Spencer Rattler, like all that is interesting. And I'm just not sure which direction it's going to go. We have a piece up as of this morning on LouisianaSports.net. We do a thing called Station Survey where we just poll folks from the station. And I specifically singled out those who've got a little black and gold in their blood. We talked in this to T-Bob, to Beck, to Charlie, to Matt, to Musso, to Paul O'Neill, Jordan Kitchens. Like all those guys are big Saints guys. Like Hester played for the Chargers. Like that's where his loyalty lies. I don't necessarily bleed black and gold. Same goes for Alondra. Taylor's a Cowboys fan. So I kept it in-house for this one. And it was almost unanimous that the feeling for Sean Payton is one of extreme gratitude, of thankfulness, and for appreciation for what he did. Now, Jordan's still cranky because he thinks that, and the words high and dry were used 3 different times with the way that Sean Payton
I noticed that.
But most of the time, folks felt good about what Sean Payton did and don't harbor any resentment. Beck, you were in that camp.
Yeah, I am. I also noticed me and Jordan both said high and dry, which was interesting. But Yeah, man, I have to be grateful for Sean Payton just because there's no way you can't be. I mean, the Saints, it's been noted, the Saints were a joke before that. It took them 33 years to win a playoff game. It was they were one of the biggest jokes in any. Yeah, they were the biggest joke of any sports franchise in any sport for a really long time. And Sean Payton came in and changed it after a couple of years. Not to mention after Hurricane Katrina. So it's hard to be upset. I will say I understand, and like I said in my piece, is that there are going to be fans that are not going to like Sean Payton because of what he like. There's nothing you can do about it, but it's just going to happen. Now I understand where they're coming from because it just really wasn't great timing on his part, and there's no other way to look at it other than the fact that he saw that the Saints were going in a downturn and probably a rebuild, and decided to get out of town and took a year off and then came back to coaching. So. The optics for it weren't great, but there's no way you can be, in my opinion, there's no way you can be upset with Sean Payton because he was too good for this franchise. He brought us a Super Bowl. There's no way you can overlook that, even with what he did.
Yeah, I mean, my thing about this is I'm not going to tell you as a Saints fan or as an LSU fan, if we're talking about LSU, I'm never going to tell someone how to feel because that doesn't do any good. You feel how you feel.
Yeah.
You can certainly tell someone what they could consider. And I think that all the things that you brought up are completely reasonable to consider what he took over when people like you. It would be reasonable for no one to take that Saints job at that time. Why would you take that job? They suck. No one lives in the city currently. Like Sean Payton talks about trying to get Drew Brees to come to New Orleans and driving around, and there's just nobody because it's just flood damage. And so everyone remembers that. And then you think about the 15 years, and it's easy to take it for granted when you're in the middle of it. But obviously, I think that if you polled 10 Saints fans, which I think there were 6 or 7 in the station survey, you're going to get an over 90% approval rating there, and then you're going to get the one that's just never going to let you because you quit on us. And I'm not telling you that's wrong. Like you just mentioned, like it could be that you feel differently, but I think Sean Payton probably earned that right.
Yeah.
And you're not. He didn't go coach the Falcons. It's not like Nick who left and then came back and he's coaching. He's wrecking you every year. He's far away. You're going to play him once every 4 years. He comes to New Orleans once every 8 years, and there's a likelihood he never coaches in New Orleans again. I mean, if he's not the coach there 8 years from now and they don't change the scheduling, he won't. So this is an interesting night. And tonight, I think to get into the game here, which is obviously the most important thing, I have to put my foot in my mouth. Like I'm going to do it. Like I'm not never going to be afraid to come in here and say I was wrong. And I was wrong. 3 weeks ago, I said, I don't want to hear about Saints injuries. Everyone's hurt. We're not talking about it. We're not discussing it. Like I said that. That was wrong. Because there is no way to analyze this game and to judge the Saints franchise as a whole with the offensive unit they are putting out there. There are 32 teams in this league. If I went to every single one of those teams, I took their starting center, starting left guard, starting right guard, basically starting tight end, whatever you want to call Taysom, starting quarterback, and top 2 wide receivers. That is 7 starters off the starting 11, including your biggest weapons outside of Kamara. If I go to any team in the NFL, they are going to be crippled offensively. Crippled. And I told you we're not talking about injuries anymore. We're going to. I can't do that. It is not a reasonable thing for me to suggest, well, Kubiak better dial it up. I don't care that you just signed the Jets practice squad center and Spencer Rattler's played 4 quarters in his NFL life, and you got wide receivers running around no one's ever heard of, and you don't have your interior line to block the Broncos' defensive front, which is one of the top 5 in football. Like, just dial it up, coach. Go get them. No excuses. Come on, man. That's not realistic. I can't. I was wrong 3 weeks ago. I don't have another way to put it, Beck. Like I would like to sit here. Like I watched Skip Bayless sit down with the Barstool guys this week, and they called him on like 15 terrible takes, and he did not own a single one of them as incorrect. It's like, oh, well, couldn't know Johnny Manziel was going to do a bunch of drugs. Well, you were an idiot. Johnny Manziel was never a good NFL quarterback. He didn't study any tape. Like he was never going to work. He didn't have maturity at A&M. He wasn't going to find it in Cleveland. And for me, like I'm okay with saying I'm just dead wrong. And for me to just try to to brush injuries to the side and say, hey, they're all pro football players, go get it done. 7 starters? Give me a break.
No, I don't want you to think that way, because at the time when we were having those discussions, it wasn't as bad as this is. This is a whole nother level of having so many guys that are your starters being out. I mean, that was a different situation. So I'm not going to say you have to completely, eat crow on this one, but this is a totally different. It is really completely different situation. It's funny because when the Saints played the Broncos last 4 years ago, it was a COVID year,
and no quarterbacks,
and the Broncos' complete quarterback room was out, so they had to play a receiver, I think, at quarterback, and he completed one pass. It was a complete blowout. I'm not going to say that this is the exact. Obviously, it's not the exact replica, because the Saints do have a quarterback, not a wide receiver playing, but when you have this many players that you trust to start and they are your best players and they're not in the game, there's just not really much you can say about it, other than the fact that we just don't have our best players.
Yeah,
and it's not a way around it.
There's not. And so here's what the stage is set for tonight. And this is a touch dramatic. There's a touch of dramatic effect here, but it's rooted in very much truth. I believe that Dennis Allen's defense, sans Pete Werner, takes the field tonight with his life as an NFL head coach on the line. Because if that defense against Sean Payton's offense with Bo Nix at quarterback, basically 10 of 11 guys, and I use air quotes here, healthy and available, if they go out there and give up a 30 spot and get beat, Dennis Allen's last chance at being a head coach is over. Because you fall to 2-5, you're not going to make up for that. 3-4, we can talk about it. And it's going to have to be the defense that gets them to 3-4, because Spencer Rattler ain't throwing for 360 and 4 touchdowns tonight with that group of dudes. So Dennis Allen, it's a short week, I got it, but you're pretty healthy on defense. You got embarrassed 3 days ago. Dennis Allen's entire life has been in football, from peewee football all the way through playing in college to becoming a coach, working up the ranks, defensive coordinator, got a head coaching job, defensive coordinator again, promoted to head coach. This is the pinnacle of his coaching career, and this will be his last chance as a head coach in the NFL. Maybe he's with the Saints 6 more years, maybe he's with the Saints 3 more weeks. But this is it. And his defense must go out there against a mediocre NFL offense in prime time with his old boss on the other sideline at home in the Dome with his coaching career on the line. He's either the head coach of the Saints next year or the defensive coordinator of the Jaguars or the new head coach, like whatever the case may be. But this is it. And again, I fully transparent, like there's a tinge of being dramatic there. But it's rooted in some real truth, because if you fall to 2-5, you've lost 5 in a row. Is there any hope that you could come back from that? I don't think
you're being dramatic at all. I don't.
He's not going to get fired tomorrow.
No, he's not. And he probably, honestly, in all reality, from what people are saying close to, Nick Underhill, other guys there, I don't think they're going to fire him in mid-season unless they lose unless they lose three more in a row after this or something. But I think they're going to wait. But yeah, if he loses this one and just all the everything surrounding it with what the game is going to mean, I think there's no way he will survive.
Because as many excuses as I'm going to dish out for that offense, I don't have any for the defense.
No,
you're
not
missing
at all.
One linebacker, and Willie Gay's plenty capable going in there and playing. And if you can't stop Bo Nix at home, well, all right, that's lights out. So we'll see. Kickoff tonight at 7:15. I will be out at LeBear's Baton Rouge. Very much excited for that. If you were looking for somewhere to come watch the game, they got incredible drink specials at LeBear's tonight. They've got towers of domestic beer for $11. You can fill those things up like 9 times. It's incredible. They got great game watching seats that you can sit in. They got tables if you got a group, and there's blackjack tables right by the sports book that you can watch football on and play a little blackjack. I'll be there starting about 6:15, 6:30, and I'll be there throughout the evening. So come on by and see me. I'll have some cups, some shirts, some hats to give away, and honestly, I'll probably be publishing some stories from Ross Jackson in the Dome on LouisianaSports.net. So it'll be a good time at LeBear's Sportsbook at ESPN Bet this evening. Hope you'll come out and see us. We'll come back, close things up on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, right there, Airline and Piku, new sponsor here of the Hunt Palmer Show. I was over there at the dealership last week. Just could not have been more impressed with the operation. Their sales ambassadors are just fantastic folks to work with. Richie, general manager, is great as well. It's first class, just facility. You go into the service aisle, it's completely clean. They got this massive coffee maker that can do everything you can imagine. Got all the snacks laid out, and it's perfectly clean. It's an experience when you drive a Genesis. But the most important thing to most people when they purchase a vehicle is safety. And Genesis has the entire line that has been given incredible safety honors. All of the line was given the was given the IIHA top safety pick, and some of them were top safety picks plus. If you're in the market for a new vehicle and you have not considered Genesis, which is possible because it's pretty new, just give them a shot over at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every single car on the lot is right there online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. But get on by and see them. If you don't have time to take a test drive because you don't want to go to Airline Highway, that's okay. They'll come to you. They will allow you to test drive it from your home, to test drive it from your office. Have one of the brand ambassadors come out, get in that car with you, take it on a test drive. They make things as easy as possible for you. That's what you expect in a luxury dealer, and Genesis of Baton Rouge is certainly luxury. Check out the inventory online, genesisofbatonrouge.com, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Hockey is back in Baton Rouge. The Baton Rouge Zydeco opened the 2024 season against the Biloxi Seawolves Thursday, October 17th. That is tonight at the Raising Cane's River Center. Register at 1045ESPN.com for your chance to win tickets to opening weekend. That's not just today, throughout this weekend as well. They will be playing. For more information or to purchase tickets, visit RaisingCanesRiverCenter.com.
Just realized I didn't give a score pick
for
Saints and Broncos. I
True.
have one, and right in mind. I think it's actually going to be perfectly correct. Broncos 24, Saints 12 is what I've got.
12, interesting.
Here's my thought. Saints get a couple field goals.
Yeah.
Broncos go up 24-6.
Okay.
Saints get a touchdown.
Go
they
for
got to
two.
go for 2 to get it to 10.
Or they could just kick 4 field goals
They
too,
could.
which may happen.
It could.
Wouldn't be surprised.
So I'll go with 24-12. Probably going to be wrong, but maybe it'll be right. Rouse's official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. If you're looking to do some grocery shopping for the weekend, always invite you to get on by Rouse. They got fantastic deals, and they got everything you need for your game watching party this weekend, whether it's Saints and Broncos tonight or LSU and Arkansas this weekend. Rouse's location all over South Louisiana, all the way to Gulf Shores, Alabama. There's got to be one in your area. Ours, personally, in the Palmer House, is Burbank and Lee, but get on by Rouse. It's always a fantastic shopping experience. All right, Beck, take it or leave it.
All righty, first the one here during halftime of the Saints game tonight. Drew Brees, who is being inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame, he will attempt to lead the crowd in his famous pregame chant, which I don't know if you've heard it before, but it's not exactly the easiest one. It's not just, hey, 1, 2, 3, go Saints.
Yeah, not that.
It's a little bit more intricate, but the fans will do it perfectly. Take it or leave it.
I will leave that. There's going to be one of no one knows what it is, but everyone loves Drew, so they'll go nuts when he gets on the Jumbotron. Yep. I just saw a Saints Hall of Fame lunch is going on today. Drew Brees going in, and Sean Payton did stop by, fully adorned in his Broncos gear. He dapped up everybody from Miscale. He didn't dap up Miscale. He gave Miscale a kiss on the cheek there, but dapped up Mickey Loomis, Drew Brees. Saw Jimmy Graham was there as well. So some familiar faces in town in New Orleans this weekend. Should be, as we said, a weird environment.
All right, last one here. The Cleveland Browns will not be renovating their current stadium, Huntington Bank Field, as previously thought. They will instead be building a dome in Brook Park, a suburb of Cleveland. Take it or leave it?
Take it.
I'll take it.
This is the take that everyone's going to hate. I mean, they're going to hate it. All those teams up there ought to be having domes.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't need January football games in 9-degree weather.
Or Buffalo, where they have to scoop the
it's
snow.
Just awful.
They have to get fans to come.
The whole city's out there shoveling snow.
Yeah.
Dome that thing. It's ridiculous. Nobody needs to be out there at Soldier Field when it's wind chill of -11 in January trying to play football. That is not, they call it bear weather in Chicago. It's not bear weather. It's unfit for human activity weather. You go inside when that's the weather. And that's why everyone out there needs to have domes. Was that Cleveland? It It was Cleveland where the Saints went a year or two ago, and it was just no degrees.
Yep.
Who was the quarterback that day? Was that a Dalton game, or they won the game?
I think it might have been Dalton. I'm not sure.
But, I don't know who, but there's no need for that. That was when the polar vortex hit. We don't need that. Just build a dome. Thank you, Cleveland Browns. You've done, let me do some math, carry the two, nothing right in your entire existence. This is correct. So well done, City of Cleveland. All right, that's going to do it for our Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Appreciate our guests for jumping on today. Luke Johnson talking Saints, Andrew Hutchinson talking Arkansas. Chris Blair was with us as well. If you missed any of the show, you can always catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, or wherever you find your sound. YouTube channels, Hunt on LSU, Hunt on Saints. Like, subscribe, rate, review those, and get your LSU and Saints information from there. I'll be at LeBear's tonight. Hope to see you. If not, Matt's going to drive you home. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place, on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Speaking of LeBear's Baton Rouge, you got to make it your game day headquarters. This season, they got the biggest screens around, and now you can bet and dine and have some beverages at ESPN Bet in person. I will be there tonight. Big screen's going to have Saints and Broncos on it. Baseball playoffs will be on as well. You can wager at the window. You can play a little blackjack, get some awesome food and drink. And I'll be there. It's going to be fantastic. Very much looking forward to getting out to LeBear's Baton Rouge and ESPN Bet tonight. Also, if you're not coming out, you'd rather watch at home, I still invite you to play against me with the Cover 5 SEC content. You got to download the Pen Play app, download the Cover 5 app, and put in the promo code LABRSEC24. That's LABRSEC24. Pick 5 SEC games and compete against me and dozens of other listeners here at 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. If you're not a member, you can get the Pen Play app today. LeBear's Baton Rouge is your live sports headquarters. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966 for help.